You were told health starts in your gut, but if you're a woman, it all starts with your hormones. When your hormones are off, everything is off, including digestive issues, mood, mental clarity, energy levels, weight management, and so much more. As the new year approaches, imagine hitting refresh and supporting your body with optimal hormone balance. Hormone Harmony is a game changer for women struggling with hormonal imbalances that leave them exhausted both physically and mentally. It only contains science-backed ingredients that bring back comfort, energy, clarity, confidence, and a sense of balance. Perfect for enjoying the holidays and heading into the new year energized. Happy Mammoth, the company that produces Hormone Harmony, is famous for its zero-compromise policy. No GMOs, artificial fillers or flavors, or any other junk. Only science-backed ingredients in amounts that are clinically proven. The company surveyed almost 2,000 women to see how Hormone Harmony helped them, and the results are mind-blowing. 86% of women started losing weight, 77% said it improved their mood, and 100% said they were feeling like themselves again. And on top of that, Hormone Harmony has over 50,000 raving reviews from women all over the world, with 98% of them saying they'd gladly recommend it to their friends and family. This holiday season, give yourself or the women in your life the gift of wellness. For a limited time, you can get 15% off your entire first order at happymammoth.com. Just use the code MurderDiaries at checkout. You could try Hormone Harmony risk-free and get 15% off your first order with code MurderDiaries at checkout.
Do you ever wish you could show your dog just how obsessed you are with them? You actually can by giving them something to obsess over: their food. Ollie makes fresh, human-grade meals tailored to your pup's unique needs, and their recipes are made with real meat, fruits, and veggies. No fillers, no weird stuff, just the good things your dog deserves. And when your pup eats better, they feel better, so they'll have the energy to live their best life right alongside you. Ollie also offers on-demand health screenings, so you can easily check in with the Ollie Health team and get peace of mind on your dog's well-being. Go to ollie.com/BFF and use code BFF to get 60% off your first box. That's OLLIE.com/BFF. The best food for your best friend.
When the holidays start to feel a bit repetitive, reach for a Sprite Winter Spiced Cranberry and put your twist on tradition. A bold cranberry and winter spice flavor fusion, Sprite Winter Spiced Cranberry is a refreshing way to shake things up this sipping season. And only for a limited time. Sprite, obey your thirst.
Welcome back to Unscripted. I know we've been talking a lot about moving Unscripted to its own feed in January, but after some careful consideration and some important details on the business side, we're not going to be moving it. It's not out of the, realm of possibilities for the future, but for now, you'll still be getting Unscripted on this feed every Monday and True Crime every Thursday. So stay tuned because we have some more fun stuff coming too.
We can't wait for you to see what we have planned. There's a lot in store. Very true crime adjacent as well. So something for everyone.
All that said, I'm Paige.
And I'm Natalie. And everyone strap in because we're taking a trip through Joe Bro lore or Jonas Brother lore. We're going to talk about the highs, the lows, the what moments, and all of the things in between. We can't wait to get through everything.
The Jonas Brothers are a group that I have obviously, who doesn't know about them, but I wasn't really following them back in the day just because they were like a little bit after us, not like a long time after us, but they were a little bit after us. So I was excited to get to know them a little bit more when I was doing my homework, watching their Christmas movie, watching a little bit of Married to Jonas, watching their documentary.
The documentary is called Chasing Happiness, came out in 2019. So they've had a lot of content out throughout the years. Like you said, you listed a few. They also had a TV show, a scripted show for a minute.
That's right, on Disney. They were Disney kids.
And so I'm actually really glad that you decided to, or you agreed to deep dive them with me, because even though I didn't necessarily listen to them either, because even though I'm Joe's age. I feel like they catered to a younger audience.
They did.
They did.
Really did.
Because
I'm Kevin's age.
Yeah.
So we fit in perfectly with
there
them
are
age-wise,
peers, but
they are right. There are peers. And it was almost like, not in a mean way, but it was a little bit of a joke, I think, because they had that show.
Mhm.
And they even talk about that too, where one of Nick's, I think, was it his regret or Joe's regret? They were talking about regrets.
Yeah.
It's Joe's regret that they did a season 2 because they started getting locked in. This is a common issue for Disney stars, is breaking away from it. They have to advocate so hard to finally do it and make it on their own. It's like making a whole new career.
And I think we'll touch on this a little bit more later on, but I think when Joe said that was his biggest regret, as the 3 brothers sat down to have a heart-to-heart, with some alcohol and cards to prompt some dialogue between them, I think that was him also not sharing his true answer. Because we have to really believe that he was maybe a little bit regretful about how he treated his brothers in the past, or brother.
See, I need the lore on that.
Yeah. Oh, I have so much. And that's what I was going to mention is, even though I didn't listen to them, my sister is younger and my cousins, they're about, a few years younger. They listen to them. I actually have a 2-degree separation away from Nick Jonas. I think I've mentioned it to you. I don't want to get into super specifics. I've never met him, but my sister definitely went to a private event that they were at. She was invited to because of that connection. And it was a big deal for her at the time. So
yeah, I feel like your sister's age and on down was really their sweet spot.
Yes.
Anywhere around Nick's age and down is right around, but give or take several years. But
Nick, I'm going to pull Paige, is a 92 baby. So, I mean, he's still very much a millennial, but on the younger end.
Yes, he's September 92 and just the Virgoist of Virgos. I didn't know this about them because I didn't really know a lot about their personalities, not too much. And I was kind of surprised to see he's just very, I don't want to say straight-laced, but he's a little bit more rigid.
He's very serious.
He's very serious, which I think, the group was going to need somebody like that, because Joe is actually a lot more of a clown than people give him credit for.
He would be voted class clown.
He would.
Yeah,
he would.
For sure. And then
it's classic middle child syndrome, I think, as well.
Well, we have
a little bit
remember though. So I guess let's not get too far ahead, but is Joe considered the middle child as the second? Because even though the Jonas Brothers band has 3 members, Kevin, Joe, and Nick, there actually is a bonus Jonas, is what he's called, Frankie. He's the much younger brother to them. So there's actually 4.
I explained this to my husband last night. And I was like, yeah, there's a bonus Jonas. Frankie, he was born in 2000, so he's quite a bit younger than all of his brothers. And he was just fascinated that at my age now, I'm getting all of the Jonas lore. But I was eating it up. It was a lot of fun.
It's so interesting. And actually, when Tim and I watched the documentary last night, I turned it on. He goes, "We've seen this." And I said, "No, we haven't." And then it turned on and it started playing. I said, "Oh yeah, we have seen it," but it was nice to review everything. And
I think I had watched it in 2019 as well.
When it first came out. And he sat and we watched it. He enjoyed it. We watched the second one, Happiness Continues. It was more of a concert documentary.
Oh, that one.
Kind of in the way that Taylor Swift does them, where you can feel like you're at one of the concert.
But you're getting some BTS.
Yeah, you're getting some behind the scenes
maybe
and everything.
Even some flashback clips and all of the things.
And Tim and I talked about how they have a lot of great songs, and they had, unfortunately, it took a while for them to shake that image of not only being Disney-ified, but also being for tweens or for girls. Because I feel like there are probably a lot of men that eventually have go to their concerts because of their spouses or girlfriends or whatever, and leave being full-fledged Jonas Brother fans, because they have some really great music nowadays.
It's just like the men that went to Eras Tour and left as Swifties. They were skeptical, a little bit oh my gosh, I got to do this for my girl. Or maybe they even got their significant other tickets, for as a gift. Either way, they were going. And then they left blown away. And I think that people, because they oftentimes were estimating pre-Eras Tour, Taylor Swift, it's the same thing with the Joe Bros.
Yeah, they were
People
underestimated.
underestimate them. And they just seem like their concerts would be a lot of fun. I mean, Joe is flirting with everybody from the stage.
Because he's single now, which we'll also touch on.
Oh, yeah.
You're right. There's just so much about these three brothers that they bring to the stage and to the camera when we're watching everything they've put out that really draws the viewer in. And I'm so excited to really get into the nitty gritty of where they came from, how they became who they are, and all of the in between.
Well, let's go back to that time. So if we go all the way back, we have three brothers being raised in Wyckoff, New Jersey by both their parents, and their father was a pastor. And they actually grew up primarily like right down the street from the church that he was a pastor at.
Mm-hmm.
We have Kevin, who was born November 5th, 1987. We have Joe, who was born in August of 89. And then we have Nick, who was born September 16th, 1992. So for much of their growing up years, it was just them before the bonus Jonas was born.
I have to point out, though, that for those listening, we're Zooming, so we're looking at each other. Paige rattled off those birth dates from memory. She did not look them up. So,
and these aren't people I followed. I'm telling you guys.
She just has a knack for that sort of thing. But I had to give you props.
My late grandmother. Thank you. I will take them because I do. It's kind of like a little superpower. I just don't forget dates. If you tell me, I'm going to remember at a minimum, I will remember the month and year of your birthday at a minimum. I might get the dates a little fuzzy if it's in the 20s. That's like my weak spot. And I believe Joe is the 25th. Let's just see. Let's just see how far off I am for Joe's birthday.
I feel like
is he the 25th? He's the 15th. See?
Okay.
See what I'm saying?
Close.
So I can get wonky, especially if I don't like follow the celebrity or you're not like a close friend. But I'm telling you, I'm probably going to remember the month and year of your birthday. Like, I'm just going to know it. It's so sick.
You're incredible.
Well, thank you. But yeah, so that's their birthdays. And
those are their birthdays. They were born to Denise and Paul Kevin Jonas Sr., which a lot of people don't realize is actually Kevin's first name. His first name is Paul. He's a second or a junior named after his father. The father also goes by Kevin. So that's something that if you're ever following Joe or Nick on TikTok, they will poke fun at Kevin online, but I just saw one yesterday about Thanksgiving, and it was titled basically To Paul, meaning Kevin.
They really do poke at each other.
They poke a lot. Like, I'm a little too sensitive for that. Let's be honest.
But you know what? And I don't ever like to give excuses for, rattling other people. But like, it kind of is how dudes like bond. They kind of poke at each other a little bit, and they talk about their chemistry as brothers, and it has ebbed and flowed before, which makes sense, especially when you have a threesome. Well, three's a crowd.
Especially when you are business partners with your family and brothers. And so not only did they grow up in the same house, they went to work and toured with each other day after day after day, night after night, shared rooms in hotels, shared room at home.
Yes.
Then as they got older, they really couldn't escape each other. And there was, I guess we sort of see a little bit of growing pains eventually, where one in particular, Nick, decides to spread his wings and explore some solo work. But I don't want us to jump ahead too far, but
yeah, I think we should rewind again just a tiny bit and kind of talk about like how they were formed. Well, first of all, their father, again, a pastor, they were living in a beautiful, modest home just right near. So that gives you a little bit of like how they were growing up. And first off, we also need to talk about how beautiful Denise is.
Oh, she's stunning. Stunning and smart.
Yes.
She actually still uses some of her sign language skills that she had at the time, that she used to work with. And she comes out for one of the songs as they close each concert nowadays, and she signs parts of the song. It's really beautiful.
that's so cool. And that also gives you a taste of what kind of family they were growing up in. Again, it was just them three until 2000 when the bonus Jonas was born. So a lot of what we're talking about, he's either not born yet or he's very young. So Frankie was kind of like a little mascot, if you will.
Yes.
But they didn't form until right around like 2005, or at least officially. And again, Paul Kevin Sr., he also is a pretty talented musician. I don't know a lot about his background overall, but you can even see clips from the documentary where he's playing piano. And so it makes sense how the boys ended up musical, which was a question I had.
Oh, literally for all the kids to come out that talented, it had to at least be like nature and nurture. They were naturally gifted, but also it was nurtured by the family as well. So Kevin, Joe, Nick, and also Frankie can sing. He comes out for that song that Denise signs, and Kevin Sr. actually plays the piano for that and sings as well. So as you're saying, they are an incredibly talented family. It was something that really the parents allowed the kids to explore as young children. I think Kevin Sr. mentions this moment from Nick as a child where he says he's walking down the hall and he's hitting a bunch of notes when he hits a note and it's flat. So he literally rewinds as if he walks backwards and then goes through the notes again and is content with how they came out and continues on his day. And that's when they realized, wow, this isn't just a hobby for these kids. This could be really something special. Let's take care to nurture it.
And somebody else, when Denise was out with Nick, heard Nick singing and was like, hey, my kid's on Broadway right now. Like, your kid can do that too. So a lot of things were starting to brew in terms of like, maybe we should be doing auditions and things like that. And Nick was the first to start auditioning. And then Joe, who kind of wanted to be a little bit of a stand-up comedian, you can definitely tell from like all the old videos and stuff, he asked, hey, can I start auditioning too? And it kind of grew from there. Kevin was playing guitar and again, the band formed and they did get signed, but that didn't work out. But luckily for them, Hollywood Records / Disney did notice them. And that's where we get our Disney stardom days.
I've told you before, I'm telling you now, and if I'm lucky, I'll get to tell you again. For therapy, I choose Rula. I've made that choice, by the way, for quite a few years now. I'm very open about my struggles with OCD, and Rula's amazing therapists have been nothing but amazing. More than that, though, I am impressed with their platform. There's a check-in survey before my sessions, and if I have questions or need to talk to my therapist in between sessions, I can message her right on Rula's platform from my account. Did I mention also that they partner with over 100 insurance plans and the average copay is just $15 per session? Some people pay $0. I know I do. Rula is true to end care. They're committed to supporting you. I know I have felt supported and staying with you every step of the way on your mental health journey, from finding that right therapist to helping you get those appointments scheduled. Join thousands of people who are already using Rula to get affordable, high-quality therapy that's actually covered by insurance. Visit rula.com/diaries to get started. After you sign up, you'll be asked how you heard about them. Please tell them about our show and let them know we sent you. That's rula.com/diaries. You deserve mental health care that works with you, not against your budget.
Oh, Hilton stay, your beds are soft and cozy. No lumpy couch, no stiff futon, no shower line at crack of dawn. Oh, Hilton stay, oh, Hilton stay.
When you want holiday comfort you can count on, it matters where you stay. Enjoy comfortable rooms and friendly service when you stay with Hilton instead. Save up to 25% this season when you book with Hilton. Hilton for the stay. Terms apply.
This episode is brought to you by Nature's Bounty. Nature's Bounty believes your body is brilliant, naturally designed to thrive, inside and out. For those always looking for new ways to support your health from head to heels, Nature's Bounty has a range of over 400 vitamins and supplements born from 50 years of trust and care. Nature's Bounty. It's in your nature. Visit naturesbounty.com to learn more.
So, speaking of the Disney Channel, I was already in towards beginning college at this point, but I do remember, because I have younger siblings who would watch Disney Channel, I remember the Jonas Brothers popping up on screen, and they would pop up in between different TV shows. So they had the song Year 3000, and I specifically remember watching that, and it would play all the time in between shows. And it was funny that that was brought up in the documentary Chasing Happiness, because I distinctly remember it happening just like that. And then, they eventually made their way onto Hannah Montana, which was a big deal at the time. I mean, that was like the iconic show of this era for that age group.
And a huge, what the kids call ship, started happening for Nick and Miley. And they actually, I believe, dated in real life, but classic Disney, it was really kept under wraps. But people were catching on to things and were shipping them. The people wanted them to kind of date.
Well, and Nick even wrote a song for Miley. I think it's called Love Bug.
That's right.
And
that's the song.
In the documentary Chasing Happiness, he acknowledges that he was able to write that song because he finally knew and understood what love was like. So
That's right.
he acknowledges that she was essentially his first love, which I feel like is a big statement to make as a person who's now married with children. He's saying, even looking back at his past relationship, saying no, she was the real deal for me.
I agree. That's exactly what I picked up on too. I think he's telling us finally, after all these years in 2019, when the documentary is from, that Miley was his first love. And they did really date. I mean, maybe some people had already, found out and there was already confirmation. I don't know. But to me, at least somebody who didn't follow them, that was the actual confirmation.
And she wasn't the only Disney darling that had a relationship with one of the brothers.
Who else?
So, okay. Well, as we learn, Joe Jonas was offered a role in Camp Rock, a Disney movie. And Kevin Sr. says, hey, let's not split up the brothers. What do you think about not just Joe, but a band of brothers? And so all three brothers get a role on Camp Rock. I think there's 2 of them. And that's where they meet Demi Lovato. And it turns out her and Joe start dating. They date for maybe 3 months. It's nothing serious, but it was enough to get them all acquainted and friendly with one another. And I was actually watching some videos about this last night. There is a lot of discourse, I think, surrounding Demi Lovato and the Jonas Brothers, where it's thought that relationship was much longer than it was. But it was, even though it only lasted 3 months, she just stuck around with them and became very close friends with Nick. And even later on throughout the years, they formed their own record label together. They made music together. And they even referred to each other as family. And then she sort of just fell out. They weren't seen together at all. And then just this summer, 2025, Demi Lovato appears on stage with the Jonas Brothers. And it was a huge moment because you could tell that there was some reconciliation happening. And the rumors are basically that the fallout was surrounding some feelings maybe between her that were unrequited between her and Nick. And that was around the time that he began dating and courting Priyanka Chopra, who becomes his wife. So there was stuff about that where it wasn't going to happen. And she released music saying this is how I feel, I feel, and nothing's going to come of it.
Have you seen the video of Demi Lovato and Joe Jonas trying to outsing each other? It's clear on stage that they're doing a bit of a contest and people are pumped up about it. It's like a bit.
No, I haven't seen it, but I'm going to have to go look it up.
I'm going to have to try to find it too, because I'm sorry, Joe, but you are not out singing Dee Lovato. Okay.
No.
It's not happening. She's an incredible talent. So I don't think that a lot of people can touch her vocals. It would be like trying to touch Christina Aguilera's vocals. You can't, and they're too strong and wild. And Yeah, she's an incredible talent. So it's a cute clip though. I'll have to try to find it. The performance is old, but the clips obviously again have been circulating TikTok off and on. So I'm going to try to find it for you because of course please, she wins.
Please find it. I can't wait to watch it. There is something else that is sort of like the elephant in the room that we haven't touched on around this time. And that is the whole purity ring moment that all three brothers had. They all famously wore purity rings, but as I was researching a little bit more, they never really opened up and talked about it too much. It was sort of like they mentioned it and the press and public ran with it. And that sort of overshadowed anything they were doing at the time.
Which again is so weird. Like, why are we caring so much about young adults and minors that are teenagers, you know, around those age groups? Why are we caring so much about that part of their lives? However, what I thought was also interesting about this is that they were somewhat, I don't want to say proud about them. They were a part of their life. They were our lives, I should say. They were important to them. And all of their peers were doing that because they grew up in a church that their father was the pastor of. So to them, they didn't understand that it was
normal.
Seen. Yeah, to them it was normal. But in the culture of the country, people had a lot of different things to say about it. Some people are like, yay, that's awesome. And other people are like, that's so nerdy. Other people are probably in a camp of like, you're lying. And I will give them credit for this. None of them will tell you if they ever broke it, if they stuck to it. And I give a lot of credit to that because I don't think a girl would be allowed to not admit whether or not she kept it.
I don't know if that's 100% true for at least Joe, because I distinctly remember him talking about having relations with one of the Twilight actresses, I believe Ashley Greene.
Oh.
Prior to marry, I mean, he didn't marry her. And this came out, you know, after he's in his 20s. So it wasn't as scandalous as maybe it would have been if he had talked about it as a teenager.
Yeah.
But yeah, I believe at least for him, it was pretty clear that he had taken off the purity ring and put it away for good.
When they had
but I don't know about Kevin.
When he had relations, did he take that ring off?
I don't know. I don't know the details.
Well, no, I mean, publicly, was he still wearing it? I wonder when they were hooking up. I wonder.
I don't think so. I think there was a few good years where they were wearing it. And by the time he dated Camilla Bell and Ashley Greene, that ring was off and long gone.
See, that's what I mean, though. Like, did they break that promise while it was on their finger? That's what we don't really know about. But my guess is if he's taking it off publicly and then, you know, dating and having whatever relationships, it's a statement, and he's not breaking that promise. And he has his own relationship with the higher power that he believes in. So good for him for sticking to it when he believed in it. And if he changed his mind on a couple of things as he got older, then great. And he did get married, not old, but a little older. I think he was like 29. So not like old, but whereas Kevin, he
very
was
young.
Very young. He was like 22, 3. Yeah, he was young. And his wife's a year older than him.
Mm-hmm. Him and Danielle, who is his wife, got married in 2009. They had a reality show called Married to Jonas, which really gave some early glimpses into like some family tensions and career pressures that they faced as a newlywed couple. But there is something about them that I wanted to bring up. I always thought this was such a cute meet cute. So Kevin and Danielle met in the Bahamas at the Atlantis Resort. Did you hear about that?
No.
I know too much about them, I think, for my own good.
I knew you were going to shine here because you have talked about Married to Jonas and watched it back in the day, I think, right? And I started watching it and I can see why. Like, I love the DeLisa family.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting peek into the Jonas Brothers' lives. And it actually feels, I mean, I'm sure it's not all genuine, but it feels mostly genuine. Like when you're watching Kevin on that camera, like that's Kevin. Like he's not You know, like he might be, you know, for the cameras pretending to try and dig a circle for a tree that they were already planting. But overall, like his reactions, his commentary and his interviews, like that's him. He didn't change his persona for reality TV.
Or even his love and tenderness for his wife is very palpable and something that is authentic, I believe. That is probably one of the shows where I wish wasn't canceled. You can tell that
we only got 2 seasons.
Well, and we would later find out it's because the Jonas family didn't appreciate these cameras behind the scenes. And they talk about that a little bit.
They were nervous that Kevin was going to air out their dirty laundry when in reality he had no interest in that. And he said that Nick and Joe wanted nothing to do with it anyways, on top of that being like a main reason. And it's like, I think Kevin did a good job of that because we are interested in him and Danny anyways and her family. So on you, Jonas family.
Well, sorry. And you can feel that tension when the brothers do eventually show up on screen. And even when the mother, Denise, shows up on screen, it's not as friendly as you would expect. And obviously reality TV is very overly produced, but like we later find out, they weren't happy with it. So I feel like they were touching on some of their true emotions. But yeah, that show really made me enjoy the Jonas Brothers for the first time. I finally saw what my sister and cousins were enjoying about them. And that's when I became a Kevin girly, as I always tell Tim. I'm a Kevin girly. Like they always say, like, who's your favorite? Because apparently you have to pick one. But Kevin, hands down. I feel like there's something so like genuine about him.
Yeah. What does he call himself in the Christmas movie from this year? Literally just came out. He calls
we both
himself,
watched it.
Duh. He calls himself the relatable
everyman.
And I thought that's exactly who you are, Kevin. But I will also say Kevin is aging very well because it used to be a bit of a joke, like, oh, like the two handsome brothers and Kevin. Not that Kevin was like hideous. No, but it's like he's getting more handsome.
You know what, though? Like, it's so funny that the broader public and audience would always kind of shit on Kevin as well, because you sort of feel that dynamic when you watch whatever this band is putting out, whether it's a documentary, whether it's a reality show, whether it's TikToks or Instagrams. Kevin is the butt of the joke a lot of the times, especially when it comes to his brothers. And I think that is also partly what helped me become even more of a Kevin girly.
Yeah.
Because there's something about him where he is just like, he feels like the underdog, and he shouldn't be. He is a nice man who treats his wife and daughters so well, at least from what we see. He adores his family. He puts them first. He would give up everything. And I think he's even said it. He would give up everything he has for his wife and kids. And I think there's something admirable about that. And I don't think the other brothers, as they acknowledge later on, truly understood what and why that was happening. And so they like shit on him all the time. And I hate to say they dunk on him all the time. I don't know what I'm trying to say. You know,
no, they do. And part of it's in a loving way, or they wouldn't be as close as they are. But he even mentions, Kevin, that Joe and Nick were, quote, thick as thieves.
Yes,
so there
best
must
friends.
there must have been a dynamic in the trio that it's like, yes, Kevin's our older brother. We're all really close. But then, there was some like ganging up that happened, which I feel like in a trio of siblings, and now I don't come from a trio, but I've seen it, can often come, especially if they are of the same gender, from the two older ones against the younger one, because the younger one still gets babied by the parents and doesn't necessarily need, siblings in that way, whereas the middle is turning to the older sibling for other things, So it is kind of an interesting dynamic to me. And Joe and Kevin are closer in age.
Yeah, they're
than
2 years
Joe
apart.
And Nick, they're 2 years, not even 2 years apart, almost 2 years, like 1 year, 10 months. And then we have Nick, who is 3 years, 2 months younger than Joe. Now, obviously,
and then 5 years younger than Kevin. So there's a bigger divide between them.
Right. You would think that Joe could kind of buddy up with either one. But yeah, it sounds like it was kind of he and Nick against Kevin a lot.
I think it was probably, it didn't help that, like we said, Kevin got paired up with his wife, Danielle, so young that he was sort of off doing his own thing. And so the two single brothers, traveling the world, living as rock stars, had a lot more to bond on, whereas Kevin was starting a family and in a different place in his life. And, that tense vibe that we're sort of talking about between the three brothers really hit a head in 2013 when, after years of nonstop touring, all of a sudden the band basically said that they were over and they were never, ever getting back together.
John Legend, Sheryl Crow, Elvis Costello, and Alanis Morissette star in the MGM Plus original series, Words and Music. Iconic artists share intimate performances and the stories behind the songs. New episodes Sundays on MGM Plus.
Popeye's Scary Good new Freddy Fazbear Box has garlic palm tenders and cheesy bites with marinara sauce. Try it before it's too late. And see Five Nights at Freddy's 2, only in theaters. Love that chicken from Popeyes. Limited time at participating U.S. restaurants.
In Walmart Sue Newville, time was ticking away. Only a few nights left till the big holiday. But last-minute gifters had no need to worry. Walmart Express Delivery got their gifts in a hurry. From Nintendo to Nespresso and Lego Flowers, they could check off their lists in as fast as an hour. All of Who Newville, East, West, South, and North could order gifts up until 5 p.m. on December 24th. So this holiday, just do as the Who's do. With gift delivery this fast, they all gasped. From Walmart, who knew? Subject to availability, terms and fees apply.
So they broke up. It's official, publicly announced. And it took a while. I remember hearing about it. And even though I wasn't still listening, I still wasn't listening to them. I was interested because, like I said, I watched the reality show. I was interested in the dynamics of the brothers.
Of course.
It would eventually come out that Nick was the one who pulled the plug. And he sort of blindsided both Kevin and Joe.
And there was no discussing it either.
No.
They talk about how he just says, it's over. Like, we're done with the Jonas Brothers. And they had already kind of started faltering as well. Their chemistry was a little bit off in their eyes. And they didn't really totally break up, though, until that very moment. And I want to say, when they got back together, was it also a little rocky soon after? Like, it's kind of tough to follow that particular timeline without like the documentary exactly like in front of me. But there was definitely ebbs and flows by this point. And obviously this is a huge point of breaking up. But what's interesting too is, so Kevin got married in 2009. So you could see where, like, now 3-4 years later, a lot of this kind of stuff is coming to a head where they're starting to go in these different directions, which, by the way, Nick's solo work is fantastic. No disrespect to Joe. It's just not my cup of tea. He has 2 solo albums. One is better than the other, but
and he also
he says it.
He has a side project with the band DNCE with who have famously made the song Cake by the Ocean.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you are really hitting on something. None of the brothers really hit their solo stride the way Nick did. He truly had a vision for what he was aiming for. And he even went beyond just performing as a solo musician. He ended up in films and TV. I remember him being on Scream Queens. And you see his Scream Queens co-star, Billie Lourd, Carrie Fisher's daughter, in the Christmas movie that just came out this year. So he's made lifelong friends through his projects. He was also in Jumanji. How do I say it?
Jumanji.
Jumanji. I said Jumanji. He was in that one with The Rock. So that was actually a really funny movie as well. So he was very successful on his own. And I think you can really get a sense of his drive and work ethic.
And I think we have to remember too, though, like, while we can be a bit, and by we, I just mean the public, a bit upset that he would in the Joe Bros, something that a lot of people loved. He also started this on his own as a kid, and he never really got to continue to see that out, what he could do until this time. And he even moved to the stage for a little bit too after this breakup. Did he not? I think he
returned to Broadway.
I think so. If not Broadway,
believe so.
Something, I forget. But I know that he was doing, like his own thing, trying things out. And then we get Married to Jonas. We get the 2 solo records. Well, Joe's solo record, I think the first one was 2011. So that was even before the breakup. But I mean, that's already a sign of the times though, isn't it? When you feel like
the writing was on the wall.
Yeah. And they always viewed them as side projects, not necessarily solo, or so they say. But at the end of the day, they are still a packaged deal. Even as much as Nick wanted to break away and he did have some success on his own, it's like you're forever going to be a part of the Jonas Brothers to us as a public. Like, sorry, but it's so true.
And like, you're still brothers at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I think Kevin mentioned in the documentary that he really didn't talk to the brothers after the band split. And this was around the time that his first or second daughter was born. And they weren't on speaking terms until the baby came. And that was the first time he had seen them in a very long time. So those little girls sort of helped patch the family together for at least getting the brothers into the same room. And, you know, at around this time, the other brothers, so obviously Kevin is building his family, children are being born. Nick and Joe are being creative in their own solo work, but they're also building relationships in their private lives. Joe ends up dating and marrying Sophie Turner, who is famously Sansa Stark from Game of Thrones. And Nick marries one of the biggest celebrities ever,
Out of
Priyanka
Bollywood.
Chopra.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And do you remember their wedding? Like, do you remember watching coverage of it?
I mean,
multiple days, multiple events, multiple.
incredible.
They had it was beautiful.
My husband
stunning.
actually asked me that too. He's like, because I was telling him, I was like, look how gorgeous Priyanka is. Is she not so gorgeous? Like as I was watching the Christmas movie, because he was, of course, as
they like stand
do.
there.
Yeah, he poked
like I don't want to watch it.
He's like, I just have to come see if this is as horrible as it sounds. That's literally a verbatim quote. It was fun.
It was really cute, and you can tell they were really self-aware.
I don't think they overdid the music either. As soon as we got the first song, it was like, ooh, we have Will Ferrell and we have music. Is this going to go south? It didn't. It was fun. It was a classic make it home for Christmas trope. Like, it's a fun watch when you're looking for a corny Christmas movie. This is great, but it does get even a little bit deeper than that with some of the emotional context. So, and wow, were we exploring Joe's current love life after Sophie? I mean, he really, I think, stayed a bit vulnerable being the single one when he has 2 girls that at some times of the year are not with him in a completely different country, because she's been filming in the UK. She's from the UK. So she only moved here for him. So I don't know that she'll come back.
To fill in a little bit of the gaps for anyone listening who may not follow them as closely as Paige and I do, last year.
Oh, yes. They got divorced either earlier this year or last year. I can't remember.
It was a huge, huge story in pop culture. And it got pretty messy as they were trying to figure out.
It did.
You know, who gets the children, where they get to live. And then it sort of died down.
Custody battle. International. That is huge, 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 huge. There is a short docu on this. It's called Divorcing Jonas. I did give that a watch because I was interested in what happened, because we still, I think out of respect for each other, none of them have really said what happened, but they did the whole joint statement thing that makes it seem like it's amicable. But even the attorney said, or maybe it was somebody else in the docu, but someone says like, yeah, this is like a whole new thing so that it appears to the public that it's amicable, but behind doors, like, yeah, it's just like any other divorce. Like, they're people, they're divorcing. No one gets married wanting to be divorced. And that's what they're saying. And
it has seemed very diplomatic, though, publicly after that whole messiness last August.
And isn't that important, right? When you think about your career is being in the public eye, like that's just you being professional at that point, even though it's blurry because it's your private life, but your public life is professional. So if you turn what's going on privately public, you're turning it professional. So of course, right, you're going to be diplomatic, you're going to be, and they say that in the show too, though, that it's gotten better, that clearly they're working things out, and they did within a month of when it got messy.
I think too, though, it's not just the fact that he's a public facing person. It's the fact that they have 2 daughters.
Yep. That matters.
And it matters because they're protecting them, and they're choosing to at least put some things more privately so that they don't have their daughters reading about whatever went on between them when they get older. So I give them a lot of props for that, because that must be really hard. I do want to acknowledge something, though. All 3 Jonas Brothers are now dads.
2 girls.
All of them have daughters, no sons. And there's always this joke that they are going to have to form a girl band.
That would be so cute. And I mean,
it would be really cute.
Those kind of like performance genes, especially with music, go real hard. So I can imagine that some of them will want to get involved with music somewhere.
In the family business.
Yeah. So to recap, also for those who don't follow too closely, Kevin has 2 girls. They're getting a little bit older. They're more school aged. Joe's girls are growing up quickly, but I think they're like 3 and 5. You don't really see their face. It's a lot more private, or they are a lot more private with them, rightfully so, especially since they're international. Like they deserve that privacy. Even in the movie, you don't see their faces.
No. And it must be hard because now that they are divorced, that is a joint decision that the parents are going to have to make. And so both have to sign off on it versus like a couple making, do you know what I mean? So like it may be a little bit harder. And then Malty Marie, who is Nick's daughter, is probably the youngest of the bunch.
She, I believe, is the second to youngest. I think she is like January to whenever Joe's second daughter was born. I was just reading up on that. But she also, her face, it kind of was shown, kind of wasn't. So it's still rare to like see any kind of face shots, especially as she gets older. But even as a newborn, Priyanka was covering her face. And I mean, again, rightfully so, because these are children that didn't ask to be born to famous parents. And it's important for safety more than ever today. I mean, these kids do have to go to school by law. Like, you know, I mean, even if it's homeschooled, like you do have to go live out in the world, and it is important to protect their safety.
Well, and they didn't consent to their parents being famous and putting them out there. So I think their parents are making the right choice for them. Even when the brothers got their star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, the only 2 daughters that showed up were Kevin's daughters. So all 3 brothers were there with their wives at the time, and only 2 of 5 cousins were there. But I feel like we need to address the comeback, the reunion.
I actually snapped a picture of that moment because every time I think about their Hollywood Walk of Fame star, all I can think of now is Joe saying, "Sophie, what up, homie? What do you have plans after this?" Like, Joe, what are you doing? But also,
they were like the cute, like edgy couple.
Exactly. But I will say that Priyanka does have the baby there. I don't know if you can see because I can't see myself. So she does have the baby at the Hollywood Walk of Fame. But I also took a picture for another reason that we can talk that we'll talk about after, like off camera or off.
I can't wait to hear what it is. But now I'm gonna have to examine that photo. What's in the background?
Let me I'm gonna rephrase. But I also took that picture for another reason that we'll talk about when we're not recording because it's not important to the episode. But
so we talked about their relationships. We've sort of sped ahead in the timeline, but I do think that it would be an injustice to the episode if we didn't talk about this reunion, this comeback that the brothers have. It happened 6 years after the official break in 2013. They get back together in 2019. And a lot of that is documented in the documentary that is available on Amazon Prime. This is not a plug for Amazon Prime. That's just where I watched it. It's called Happiness or Chasing Happiness.
Or Happiness Continued is the one after the docu, right?
Yeah, that's the concert documentary.
Okay. Oh, but we're talking about this docu. Okay,
we're talking about the one,
the docu.
Happiness. Yeah.
Okay.
Because that's where we see the brothers. Obviously, they've already forgiven each other and they're in a much better place. But you can tell that they're still sort of opening up conversations about what exactly happened, how everything fell apart. And, you could tell that there's years of tension that they are peeling back the layers of. Nick addresses that he felt like he was the boss. Joe is trying to figure out who he was because he really felt like he had lost his identity. And then he sort of touches on when he formed the band DNCE, he like regained some sort of understanding of who he is. And then like, it was so interesting to see them come together as brothers talking about these hurtful moments that they've had. And even though they've forgiven each other, there's still moments where you can tell like that is still a sore subject. So the one that comes to mind specifically is when Kevin asked them, like, why did you do Jonas Brother concerts without me?
I cannot believe that.
Honestly, I think like I felt like crying watching that because it's one thing for like a coworker to do that to you, but your brother, like the Jonas Brothers are Nick, Kevin, and Joe. They're not Nick and Joe. You know what I mean? Like it's the three of them. And for them to accept gigs where they didn't tell Kevin about, they didn't invite Kevin to them, they performed them and let him hear about them after the fact is beyond hurtful. You can see Kevin sitting there with tears in his eyes. And the way that Joe responds to that question is like, I'm sorry, I love you, let's get over it. And it was, it almost felt like he slapped him in the face again. Like he wasn't sorry about it. It didn't feel like he regretted doing that.
I think to him, which this gets real murky, it was, quote, business. Because doesn't Nick say something honest like, the truth is what you think, we thought you were holding us back. And it wasn't, he went on and it wasn't necessarily for the reasons you think. They weren't like, oh, you were terrible or whatever. But I think they said something about like, was it because he got married and he wasn't like it's growing his guitar playing skills or something like that? Was that what he said?
They even bring up something like, we felt like you weren't putting enough into like your guitar work. Yeah. And after performances, we would hang out. And that's super important. The brothers, that's what they refer to themselves as, the brothers.
Yep.
You would go home to Danielle and it would just be us two. And so they sort of felt like he was living a different life and wasn't interested in this.
He wasn't giving it 100. Anymore. Yeah, right. Exactly.
But in Kevin's defense, and I would say this even if he wasn't my favorite, he should be allowed to leave work and go home.
Yes.
And I feel like they were unreasonable. And I think they can sort of see that there was unreasonableness in their attitudes. But I feel like that still might be an issue for them, at least when that documentary came out.
I think it's one of those things that, and all of us have, a relationship or some relationships that there are subjects that if you care enough about each other that you want to maintain that relationship are just going to have to be that, I love you. We disagree on this. It is a sore subject, but we're moving past it because we love each other and we want to continue to be friends, where you just can't harp on it. And that is hard though, because it's like, are you just pushing it under the rug? And that's not necessarily what I mean. But what I mean is more of you've come to an agreement that I get what you're saying and that might be true. And you get what I'm saying, which is also true, like where you have almost like different truths or different experiences with it. Like at the end of the day, like in this case, we did do concerts without you. So we can say sorry 100 times and we are but we also were in a position where we were making business decisions. You're building a family. This is all we had at that time or whatever. And so that's why you also were missing studio time and you weren't working on a guitar. So to us, it seemed like you didn't care. And we were getting these opportunities. You didn't find out about them because where were you when we heard about them? Or did we keep them from you? I don't, right? So you have to kind of come to these like agreements of like, your truth is yours, mine is mine. We get it. But also we just can't talk about this because we still do sort of disagree on some points.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. No, I feel like that's the way relationships are, though. They're never black and white. There's a lot of gray area. And that obviously is a moment where it is pretty murky. The thing that had me wondering was, like, we know that Kevin Sr. was the manager of his son's band. Was he the manager at this time? Did he know that two of the brothers were going to do a gig without Kevin?
I don't think he was. I think he stepped back like early on.
He must have, because I remember there's a moment where he says, this is Kevin Sr. says that to him, the most important relationship the boys have is as brothers beyond the band. And so like, I was surprised that that was happening. So that was like more of a question that I had. So you may be right. I hope he was the one to have stepped back. It doesn't seem like in his character.
Yeah. And I was searching a little bit because I think that's a really good question. And there's like something I'm reading that says, it's talking about like 2006, summer 2006. And it says, according to the band's manager, it was only a limited release, blah, blah, blah. So they're not talking about Kevin Sr. here. And this is 2006. So I think he did. He stepped back probably as soon as Disney stepped in, if you really think about it. I want to talk about something that we didn't hit that was really pivotal, a huge moment in the Jonas family's life and the culture of the Jonas family. And that is that, this church, well, it was a home away from home and down the street from their house. The church owned that house. And when the church found out, finally, that the Jonas Brothers were forming a band, which, by the way, they kept way secret because it was a secular band, not a Christian band, they actually ended up having to have their dad step down.
Right.
From
he lost
the church.
his job.
He basically lost his job over a lot of this, but he believed in his sons, and probably his faith kept him through, knowing that he and his family would still be safe, but they really had nowhere to go. But somebody luckily had a house that they let them go to. I believe that's the case, but this house was a lot smaller than what they had. And they had all four boys in one room. And it was a hard time for them as a family. I mean, money was tight. There wasn't really a lot of money coming in. And they had essentially, downgraded into a smaller house that they, not that the house was huge that they had before, but there was more space for them. And that was like their childhood home, going by that house. And this newer house, it was a bad, rough age for all this to be happening for them as well, especially as like teenagers. You want your own space, and money things can be kind of, I hope I don't sound like an idiot saying it like this, but kind of embarrassing for some teenagers. Like if you don't have a lot of money, or it's apparent that your dad lost his job with your main peer group who went to the church of which he resigned, in which they would know he didn't have a job. Like it was just a really tough time. And like Denise says, like at that moment, they were banking everything on the boys' success, because that was their crossroads, right? Was either we as parents have to put the pedal to the metal and figure out how we're bringing money in, or these boys who are on the precipice of a really big break. They've already gotten one record deal that kind of went awry with Columbia. And now, they're probably in talks with Disney, but that was their second chance, was right. Disney. And it worked, and Hollywood Records, which is owned by Disney.
And you're bringing up a really good moment in their life, because not only did Kevin Sr. lose his job, but like you said, the church owned the house. They lost their home, which is why they had to move to that other house. And then on top of that huge shift in just their everyday life, they lost their record label. Yeah. That's when they were figuring out if they could, where they could go. And then Disney eventually picked them up. So like it was hit after hit after hit. They were at the lowest they'd ever been.
I probably have ever been truly when it comes to finances and security in life. But isn't it amazing the way that the world, the universe, whatever higher power, whatever works? Because if that didn't happen, then they wouldn't have Disney and Hollywood Records. They wouldn't have gotten the show that Disney created to promote them as a band, which was the whole idea behind the show, was to push them as a band for the record label. So we wouldn't have the Jonas Brothers that we have. It would have been completely different. And in my opinion, I feel like if Columbia stayed through, if you will, I think we would have ended up with like a Hanson's situation.
Yeah, we're a flash in the pan.
Flash in the pan is exactly what I was going to say. And that would have been fine, but I feel like they would have stayed in one area, maybe branched off, maybe done things career-wise, but they wouldn't have been the Joe Bros as famous as they are together as a group still.
I think this part of the conversation is also important because we are acknowledging that the amount of time, energy, and resources, financial and otherwise, that their parents put in. I believe it was mentioned that Kevin Sr. maxed out all of his credit cards to help the boys on their bus tours, around this time. Like he was putting every single last dollar he had, the family had, into making his son's dreams come true, not only to help their dreams, but because they knew it was their last resort. And that's something that we have seen and over and over again as we've explored these deep dives. There's always that one, and I don't want to say one parent necessarily in this case, because like obviously Denise was right there along for the ride, but we get a sense of how impactful Kevin Sr. was, like in writing, in developing the musical style and everything. And that's why I'm bringing him up in particular. But we see that a lot with like Britney Spears' mom, Lindsay Lohan's mom, Hilary Duff's mom, even Jessica Simpson's father and mom, and even her grandmother. Remember, she was the one that gave her retirement money to make those albums after the Christian label folded. So like, none of these people maybe they would have gotten to where they are, but they all were propped up by their loved ones. And I that's such an interesting through line that we've been able to see as we've been doing these deep dives.
I think without nepotism, that's what it takes, which is kind of sad. Like you should be able to have fun with it, go to auditions, have some success. You blow up, you don't, you're still a working actor or whatever. But like that is just not the case. It is such an industry of
connections
and connections. And especially with music, it's very expensive as well. Because obviously there is 2 cities in this country, well, maybe 3, that you can really do music in.
Wait, Nashville, LA, what?
And maybe New York. Yeah, New York is going to be much more like musical theater as opposed to actual music. But like, don't get me wrong, like there are definitely studios there and whatnot. I don't think Taylor Swift would have a place there if that wasn't the case. But guess what? She still has one in Nashville and she still has one in LA because there is different access to different things in all of these places. And a lot of the country isn't from those areas, including the Joe Bros. They were from New Jersey. Now, they had access to New York, which probably helped them out and allowed them to be doing auditions and things like that. But it's just when you are not born into it, it is a very wild ride that not a lot of people are successful on. Even if you are a working actor, like people might not know your name, but you are acting. That is where you get your money. You are doing okay. Even that is quite the feat. Like just because you're not A-list doesn't mean you didn't make it. In fact, like most actors aren't. So, and they're not actors. Obviously, they're in music, but I mean, same thing. Same idea. It's a game of who you know. And once you're in the business long enough and paid the dues, and you do know these people and you can kind of start being able to work those connections and, really start taking control of your career, which I think arguably is what, Nick has done. And I'm not saying the other 2 haven't either. Of course, we have an entire reality show for Kevin and Joe has his solo work as well, but it is just an incredible feat what they've been able to achieve just being three brothers who grew up just down the street from the church their dad was a pastor at. Like, it's incredible. So I really suggest anybody watch this documentary. If you want to continue on with the lore, check out Continuing Happiness too. I know I'm going to watch that one because I have not.
Check out the Christmas movie, A Very Christmas, or what is it? A Very Merry Jonas Christmas or something like that. It actually is really cute, as we mentioned. I feel like you'll get a sense of who each brother is, even though it's, fiction.
They are very much being themselves. Yeah,
caricatures of themselves.
Storyline fiction. The boys are who they are. And I think they do, in the storyline, sort of pick up on things that they have been through and play on those. Because you could tell it was a lot about, Kevin wanting to be a lead in a song. And
I can't believe we got to the ending of this episode without me bringing that up, by the way.
Yeah.
Kevin, our underrated king, in the movie, his whole, the tension with his character is he wants to bring up to his brothers that he would like to sing solo on a song. And if you've ever watched anything with the Jonas Brothers, you will notice that it's Nick with a microphone in his hand, Joe with a microphone in his hand, Kevin with a guitar in his hands, and maybe a microphone, like a Britney Spears microphone, whatever those are called, on the face. And in the past, he's never really sang anything beyond background vocals, except for one song called Scandinavia. Well, this year, over the summer, he finally, I've been watching those clips all summer.
Watching Danielle cry, watching her man of almost 2 decades at this point. I can't. I was so moved how genuinely, I see why he went for the hairdresser from New Jersey. She is a down-home girl, Jersey style down-home girl. And I see why
they're perfect for each other.
They're perfect for each other. Oh,
but yeah,
so
I bring
sweet.
that up because the movie ends with, all right, Kev, they're on stage. All right, Kevin, you're up. Meaning this is your chance. And I thought, what, beyond everything of the brothers and everything, what great marketing. So Kevin just released that single that he had debuted over summer in those concerts. The other brothers left the stage. It was just Kevin, microphone, and I think he had a guitar in his hand singing the song. And he even said oh, I'm so nervous. I've never done this before. And he sounded great. He got a lot of support from all the fans. He just released the single, I think last week. And so perfect timing with the movie releasing, them setting it up with that ending line, him releasing that song. And I don't know, just it all came together in a nice, neat little bow.
And I really think, just like you said, we really are getting a Joe Bro resurgence and another generation that's getting a taste of the nostalgia that they are bringing now, because they have been a band for 15, 20 years. And
even beyond the nostalgia though, they're bringing much more mature adult
this is true
music. Yeah. That they're getting the nostalgia fans, but they're also getting brand new fans as well. I think they're going to be around for decades more.
Me too. And I know they're not the first band of brothers or family band, but I really do think they bring a uniqueness to it. And I appreciate how real they have been through the documentary and even what they sort of play on throughout the Christmas movie of what they go through to be the band that we love. So thank you, Kevin, Joe, and Nick, and our bonus Jonas Frankie. I need to check out
we
some
didn't
of
forget
Frankie's
about you.
music. Yeah, we didn't forget about you. You were just too young, but you are the mascot of the Jonas Brothers. And we do get to see Frankie in the movie too, by the way. So check that out.
He's always making appearances.
He's always making appearances. Always.
Yeah. So that's a wrap on our Jonas Brothers episode.
Until our next one, check us out on all of our socials, including YouTube. Go subscribe there so that we can bring you more video content. We're working really hard at growing that, so we can do that. That would be a lot of fun at the Murder Diaries pod. And remember to come back on Thursday for our normal true crime case coverage. Bye.
I've told you before, I'm telling you now, and if I'm lucky, I'll get to tell you again. For therapy, I choose Rula. I've made that choice, by the way, for quite a few years now. I'm very open about my struggles with OCD, and Rula's amazing therapists have been nothing but amazing. More than that, though, I am impressed with their platform. There's a check-in survey before my sessions, and if I have questions or need to talk to my therapist in between sessions, I can message her right on Rula's platform from my account. Did I mention also that they partner with over 100 insurance plans and the average copay is just $15 per session? Some people pay $0. I know I do. Rula is true to end care. They're committed to supporting you. I know I have felt supported and staying with you every step of the way on your mental health journey, from finding that right therapist to helping you get those appointments scheduled. Join thousands of people who are already using Rula to get affordable, high-quality therapy that's actually covered by insurance. Visit rula.com/diaries to get started. After you sign up, you'll be asked how you heard about them. Please tell them about our show and let them know we sent you. That's rula.com/diaries. You deserve mental health care that works with you, not against your budget.